Hello everyone, and welcome back to Revit Snippets, great tips you can learn in just a few minutes. Today's topic is how to build a window family that is so clever it has nested detail components inside. If I see the same window at medium or coarse level of details, I can see just a generic profile there for the frame. But if I go to the fine level of detail, you will see a lot more going on there. And this can be perfect for your detailed drawing of the same window. This is apparently a section view, but you can do the same in other view types as well, like this floor plan over here. This is also better for your model performance. You can just nest the same item into the window family and have it appear everywhere it's needed. Whenever it's not needed, you can just switch back to the more generic appearance of the window. Alright, it's time to make it happen. Let me just close everything I have in here. We're gonna start again from scratch. So, first thing first, let's go and make a new window family. Make sure you pick the right templates, obviously. Before we create the frame of this window, let's make sure a profile for it is in place. So I will go back to File, New, Family, and then select a profile template. Let's save this one, profile number 3. Next step, we should make now the detail item family that will be nested to other files. So New, Family again, and this time choose Metric Detail Items. If your company has different standards or templates they want you to use, you can use the same equivalent templates from there as well. Alright, now comes the critical part. You need to select an appropriate detail item from AutoCAD or from anywhere else to reference into this detail item family. I happen to have done that from the internet. Just quickly downloaded this detail item sheet here. If I zoom out, you will see a lot more there. But for now, let's just focus on one of the window types here. This very simple one. And if you cut it through this location along the frame, this is the details you're going to get. So let's see how we can now transfer this detail into the Revit detail item component. Now, before you even try to bring this into Revit, make sure it's clean and doesn't have any garbage that can slow down your model. To help you do just that, I've made another video on this channel, and there should be a link on your screen right now on the top right corner to see it. So if you haven't done that, try that first. Try to clean up everything that is not needed in your DWG file here, and then return to this tutorial. On the other hand, if you have done that already, or maybe you are confident your CAD detail in here is clean enough, let's just proceed. We can now select everything you want to bring into Revit. So maybe this block there, this one as well, another one here, this detail item. Let's include the section of this glazing here as well, so we can reference this later in Revit to make our glass panels. Alright, for now that's all I need. Let's run now the wblock command, and then choose to save this to a new DWG file. I'll call this one detail number 3. Make sure you pick the right unit that you are using here in this CAD file. I know for a fact that is now millimeters, as you can see here as well on the dimension. So that's the one I'm going for. Let's do OK. And that has been exported into detail3.dwg. I can now safely return to my Revit window. Back to this detail item component family. Let's save it here as well as detail 3. And now it's time for us to import that DWG we just created. Detail 3, as you can see there. The units should be correct as millimeters. Tick those boxes as you can see there on screen. Maybe untick correct lines, that doesn't matter for now. And we can choose to open it. By default, it will come in as a pinned object. I can now unpin it like this. enable thin line so I can see the contents better, and I just move it to position. For today, I will try to make sure this top left corner here will be the placement point for my detail item and my profile. So let's move this to make that happen. Nice. Next step is we need to make sure to convert these DWG lines into Revit lines. And the best way to do it is not by exploding this. Make sure you don't explode this. That's a big problem sometimes people make. Instead, try to go to Create, Line, and then pick those lines to make Revit lines. The easiest way is this. Go to the Pick tool there. Hover over one of your line segments and then press Tab until the whole chain light up. Here we go. You can see there that the tab doesn't include the whole chain of lines for me. If I click now, you will see clearly why. Just click. And you can see the black lines, they start from here, going all the way around this corner as well. But then it stops here. The reason it couldn't continue is this. If I now escape a few times, pick line one more time, and try to pick this curve here. You will see as I do so, there's a forbidden sign light up in Revit, and that's because its curve is too short for Revit to recreate. Revit actually has a minimum line length that it cannot go below, and if your line is less than 1 millimeter, then certainly it's below that limit. This is why when you transfer DWG details into Revit, it usually cannot come in as 100% identical. So our strategy here is this. We try to pick as many lines as possible from this cat detail, but then we will try to use some other commands in Revit like trim and offset to get other lines that it couldn't pick. So let's do just that. Let's keep picking the lines that we can. So I can see this one couldn't do as well. This one won't do either. But now from here I can start picking lines again. So hover and tap. So, there you have it for the first part of this detail. You will see if I now hide this DWG for a moment, select Hide Element, it's missing some smaller lines. But for us that's not the end of the world. We can still try and trim them to make them into a nicely closed loop. And by the way, you might feel like you're losing details there. But if you think about it, when I see this without thin lines mode on, they seem to be the same thing anyway, regardless of whether I get the smaller lines or not. If I now change the scale to either 1:1 or even 1:2, the difference is minimum. So if I can do this, if I trim those lines together, you usually cannot tell the difference from just looking at the drawing. And the output is what matters. So let me go ahead and finish this first part of our detail. There we go. Eventually you will want to make sure the whole thing is now a closed loop like this. So far so good. We can now continue and do the same for other detail parts. Depending on the detail item you choose from AutoCAD, this could be a lengthy process. So to avoid boring you to death, I will change to the other detail component that I have already created for this demo. It's under here. And then detail 1. So you can see everything is the same, except from that I have finished picking my lines and also put in here a field region. Actually, that's good to show. Let me just recreate this field region so you can see the process. We can now go to Create, Field Region, and just draw a closed boundary like this. You can now change its properties to show the required patterns. In this case, maybe gypsum. The scale it's showing at is a main factor here. If I change this to 1:5, you have more pattern lines. That's nice. Alright, it's time now to use this detail item family in our profile family. Let's load this into profile tree. And just like before, I will make sure I'm placing everything from my top left corner. Here we go. We now need to make two profile families, actually not just one, because one has to be there for the fine level of detail, where you also make the cut for those double glazing panels to slide in, and one will be without the slices for those panels. Let's make the simple one first. I will go to create line, and then start drawing my simple boundary for this profile here. Something like that. I can now hide this detail item for a moment and trim it so my details will form a closed loop. Let's save this one as profile 3. Course, just to avoid any confusion. And now we can do a save as to make the same profile but for fine. That's for the higher level of detail. And for this one, I want to make sure I make space for my double glazing. So pick those lines there, and same here. Hide this again for a moment, and make sure the profile is valid. The fundamental rule when you draw profiles in Revit is that they cannot have intersecting lines like this. The lines should cleanly meet where they have their endpoints. Something like this. Save it. And now we're ready to load this into our window family. Let's load it into family 5, isn't it? Let me check. If I go back to here, yes, family 5 is a window family. Let's save it with a good name. I would call this window 2. Back to the profile family now. Profile 3 fine, as you can see. It's time for it to go into window 2. You won't see anything because this is not where you're supposed to place the profile family. We need to make now the sweep element first. And for that, I will make sure to choose the reference plane I want to use. In this case, I want to choose this plane. Let me tap into it and select it. You can see now the name is center front back, as you also can see there. So we can now go to the exterior view and start to create our first sweep. I will make sure to set the work plane to the one I selected before, center front back. Okay. And now just start picking my lines for the sweep path. I will lock them as I pick as well. So 1, 2, oops, you see that? They don't light up in purple. And that's I haven't activated the sketch path command. You need to undo those two. And make sure to activate sketch path before picking any lines. So once again, pick line, lock on pick, and now they are showing up, just like we expected. We can now trim them to make another closed loop, just like this. If I go back to my level view now, my profile is now on the right hand side, but just for consistency, I want to bring it to the other side, to the left. I can now go back to exterior view, select this profile plane, and just drag it around to the other side, just like this. Back to level view now, I can see it's now where I want it to be. Press finish now to finish the sketch. And we can now select our profile from select profile here, and then pick profile number 3 fine from the drop down. It comes in flipped. Let me flip it back maybe. No, let's rotate it by 180 degrees and then flip it. Yes. I'm just trying to make it show the same way we have it show here in the profile family. In this one. Just so we can follow this tutorial easier. So now the sweep path is ready, the profile is ready, we can now click on finish. And that has created for us a very nice 3D sweep, as you can see. It's time now to model our double glazing, and that's super easy to do as well. We first need to create 4 reference planes. That will help us constrain the top, bottom, left and right of our glazing. So 2 there already. I can now go back to exterior and do 2 more. Now in here it's quite hard to see that internal edge of the slot we have for the glazing. It's now time then to make our first section in this family. Something like this. Open the view now. And now it's super easy for me to create the other 2 reference planes. That's for the top and this one for the bottom. We now want to make sure that these planes will move as we resize the family, as we make the window either taller or wider. That means I need to turn these distances into parameters, or at least into constraints. Let's go for just the constraints. I know we can turn them into parameters, but that's beyond the scope of today's lesson. We can see that in the different lessons in the future. So, 2 constraints done. Let's do the same here as well on the floor plan. Select them and lock them, just like this. Anyway, something is a bit off. I have here 36, but in section I have 48. Well, just because I draw those planes at the wrong location. Let's unlock this for a minute and move this one to the right place. It should be the internal face of the opening for the glazing. Now that's 36, just like I expected. And the same fix we can apply here. Move this one just slightly down. And lock the distance at 36. Okay. It's time now for the double glazing to come in. Let's go to Create. Switch to the exterior view. And activate extrusion. I can now pick and lock at the same time 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just like previously done, we can now trim them like this. Click on Finish. Go back to level view now. And that's our glazing. It's a bit thick at the moment. Let me try to bring it to there and lock it. The same to here. Lock it here as well. First panel done. We can now do copy. Paste a line to the same place. And for the second panel, make sure it fills up the other slot that we have made for it. Amazing. Let's check it in 3D now. Does it look like panels now because they are solid? But I can easily select them both like this and turn them to use the glass subcategory. That will give them by default a transparent material. Very nice. Next step is to make sure this frame and these panels only show at the fine level of detail. So I will select them 3. Go to visibility settings. It's not available because we have selected so many items. Let's do these 2 first, maybe. Yes. So visibility settings, untick medium and coarse. We only see them at fine level of detail. That's what we need. Now do the same for this frame. Visibility settings, untick medium and coarse. It's time now to make our panels and frame for the coarse level of detail and medium as well. I can now, with this one still selected, do copy, paste aligned to the same place. And now go to Edit Sweep, click on this profile. It's time now for me to bring in profile number 3 at the coarse level of detail. I can do so quickly from Load Profile. And then select Profile 3 Coarse. Now it's there for me to select. Let's pick it. That's the one we need there. Click Finish twice. And now that's the other frame. I can now select it like this. Go to Visibility Settings. And revert this selection. Untick Fine and tick the other 2 boxes. Same for the panel. I can now copy one of those panels. And then paste same place. And for this one, let's make it slightly thicker to represent both panels. Maybe like this. Visibility settings again. And just like with the second frame, we can do this. Okay. If you want to preview this window at different levels of details, we can go down to here and choose Preview Visibility On. So now I'm seeing it at the coarse level of detail, and this is what I see fine. At coarse and medium, I'm seeing some problem here. This panel is clashing into my frame, so let's fix that quickly. I will just drag this handle there and then lock it to the edge of the second frame. One more time on the other side. One more time in exterior, because it happens all the way around. And one more time down here. When I go now to level view, that's much better. Alright, now we have set the scene already for our detail item family to shine. Let's go and pick it from detail number 1. That's the one I pre-made for you, remember? We can now load this into our window family. And now it's just a matter of placing it where you want it to show in the project. The first one should be there. I can try to just place it in the right position like this from the beginning, but from my experience it's much better to set up the constraints yourself in a clearer way. So for now I'll place it a bit here, slightly off to the side. And now it's time for me to do the align command and just align it to the right position. So from this plane there to here. Lock it. From this other plane there to here. Lock it. Let's do the same profile but on the other side. I can quickly mirror this one there to make the second one. So select there, go to mirror and then pick this center plane. Now it may be looking to be at the right location, but there's no constraint setup for it yet. So we can now repeat the same process. I will bring this a bit off to the side and do the alignment twice again. When you do this alignment, make sure you align from plane to plane. So from this plane here in the host family to this other plane in the nested component, the nested detail item. You will see that it's a plane when you go here, hover over it, and in your status bar area down there, it should say center left right. Yes, it does. I can now go and click it and lock it. Another time here, from this plane to this other plane in the family. This time it's actually easier to see because the plane itself is longer than the detail line in this detail item. So I can see there for sure that's the reference plane, not the detail line. Click it to select and then lock it. You can see now, by the way, that our frame detail and this panel, they don't match because this one is at lower levels of detail and this one only show at fine. Let's make sure that's the case now. I can now select these two frame details, go to visibility settings and only keep this box ticked, not the other ones. Here we go. Let's not forget to do the same though for the section view. If I now go to this section again, we have now two more places where we need to place that detail item. Let's go to create, or actually annotate, detail component. This is where it's a bit tricky. It's asking you now to choose a reference plane for this new detail item to be placed. Because we are looking at a section view, I'll show you what that means. If I go back to level view again, that's my section and it's looking this way. We need to now choose one of the vertical reference planes to place our new detail components on. You can choose any of those three actually, but the best one I usually do is this one here, center left right. Let's try and do just that. Back to the view now, section, annotate detail component, and this time we can choose center left right. Okay. And then you have it. I can now press the space bar to rotate this into a good position. This one better be placed at the bottom first. So again, I'll place it off to the side and then explicitly and manually specify my constraint from this plane to this other plane, from this one to this other one. We can now preview visibility mode, turn that on now. Let's now place the same detail but on the top. I can now use mirror to quickly do that. Now it's there. Again, manual alignment is best. Here to there. When you try to pick this plane here, by the way, make sure you pick the longer dashes, because if I pick the shorter dashes, that will be the center line of the wall, and I don't want that. I want the reference plane, not the center line. So press tab here until you see these longer dashes lighten up, then you can pick them. Just like so. Next step, you guessed it, is to set those frame details to show only at fine, not coarse, not medium. There we go. I can now test it at fine, medium, and coarse. Excellent. The next step then is to make sure our parameters flex properly. Let's see how they appear and behave in this 3D view. I can change now my height and see if everything is in sync. Yes, they do. How about the width? Looking great. I can also preview here visibility by level detail as well. You can see there the double glazing is a bit darker because they have 2 layers instead of 1. And in here it's a bit lighter. Alright, it's time now to give this baby a go in the project. I can go now to File, New, and then just select to draw a random wall there to host our new family. Load this into the project now. Project number 3 is going to be, and I can just place it there. And straight away, you see it's doing well already. If I now go and change this to coarse, you see the simpler representation of the window. At medium, the same thing there. But when you go to fine, that's when our detail items really shines. How about a section? Let's check them out in section. I can make one right there. Oh, that's big. Let's make it smaller for now. Yes. Open the view now. And you see this at coarse. How about medium? Same thing. How about fine? Excellent. I can now try to change its height as well. Just select the family, edit type, and maybe make it slightly smaller like this. That's working. If I can make it narrower as well, instead of 1.5 meter, how about 900? There you have it. And the good thing is, these detail items, they don't show wherever you shouldn't want to show them. If I now go and change the view range to be above the window, maybe at 2 meters 200. Well, that's not high enough. Maybe I will make that 3 meters. Yeah, you can see, if the window doesn't show, you won't see the detail item because now everything is now on top of it. The same happens in section. If I now go and move the section there, away from the window, when I open it, I won't see my detail item again, because now it doesn't make sense to see them. This is the same approach I use for another popular Revit tutorial on how to create nested mullion details. So if I go to here now, that's the same mullion you have there, but if you look at it in plan view, it will show a nicely nested detail item at a fine level of detail. When I change it away from fine, maybe medium, maybe coarse, you won't see that detail here. If you want to know how to build this using a slightly different process, check out my other video here. That should be showing on the top right corner of this video. If it's not there, check out for the link to the same video in the description. Other than that, I think we have covered this window for today. Make sure you can have a practice on your own on how to make this kind of window. Feel free to nest in more than one detail items. It doesn't matter how many. If you know the process, you can place them all in. If you enjoy this video, subscribe now to get tutorials like this every single day. For now, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next lesson.